Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a sci-fi action movie called The Osiris Child. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie is set in a remote future where humanity has expanded past Earth and colonized several other planets. In the opening scene, we hear the voice of a little girl, Indy, talking about her father, Kane. She reveals that he used to serve in the Air Force back on Earth, but during a mission, a simple error on his part resulted in the death of the entire crew. The authorities accused him of substance abuse, which allegedly caused the mission to fail. However, due to a lack of solid evidence, he was only fired from the military with no charges. Kane still felt responsible for what happened and fell into a deep depression. He became an alcoholic, which ultimately ruined his marriage as well. After some time, he got a job at a terraforming company called Exxon and moved to a new planet, Osiris. He now works as the head of infrastructure planning and manages a spaceship called Flotilla. We also get to know that Exxon is on a mission to make this new planet habitable, and they are exploiting its raw materials. To do the hard labor, they have brought convicts from Earth who are charged with heinous crimes. At the moment, Indy has arrived from Earth to spend some time with her father. As Kane shows her around the planet, she abruptly asks why he left Earth. Dad responds that he's on a mission to create new humanity and make history. However, Indy is not impressed and says her mom thinks he's just running away from his problems. Kane is upset to hear this, but he doesn't respond at the moment. He simply continues showing her around and later teaches her how to shoot. Your mom's wrong, honey. Here's a gun. They also check out some new military bunkers built by Exxon. After some time, Kane drops Indy off at the capital city in the care of a babysitter. This is because he needs to return to the flotilla, and kids aren't allowed there. Kane promises that he'll be back in a week and assures her that she can contact him anytime. In the evening, we see some monstrous creatures roaring and running through the fields of Osiris. At the same time, we hear a prison guard reporting that some creatures have breached the facility and are killing everyone. The next morning, Kane wakes up in his room on the flotilla and his AI assistant plays several messages for him. He ignores his wife's and co-workers' messages, but when it comes to Indy's, he promptly listens to it. Kane learns that she wants to visit a nearby landmark, but before he can give his permission, the message suddenly cuts off. He asks the AI what's wrong, and it reveals that there's currently a communications jam on Osiris. On another part of the flotilla, we see a woman named Linux, who is the head of Exxon. She summons Colonel Michael, and they discuss the escape of convicts from prison last night. Michael insists that they must tell the truth to everyone and save the people from the beasts. However, Linux refuses, stating that it all happened because of their mistakes. She explains that she can't disclose the truth, or else they will be accused of genocide. Following this, Linux summons all of the chief staff, including Kane, to an emergency meeting. She reveals that many convicts have escaped from prison and are in possession of a deadly virus. In fact, it is so dangerous that it can kill everyone on the planet all at once. That's why they left it lying around, so that it could be easily stolen. Linux then announces that she has decided to detonate a nuclear reactor and destroy the planet if negotiations are not resolved within 23 hours. Upon hearing this, the employees are terrified, but she assures them not to worry, for now. In the next scene, Kane returns to his room and attempts to contact his daughter, but the connection is still down. He is then visited by Michael, who seems very nervous. The man reveals that Linux is deceiving them, and that the escaped convicts were not carrying any virus. Exxon has been secretly breeding a monstrous creature known as Ragged to help them colonize a new planet. Unfortunately, these creatures have escaped and are on their way to the capital. The terrifying part is that these Raggeds can infect anyone and transform them into themselves. Therefore, Linux plans to detonate the bomb and wipe out the entire colony to cover up their plan. Michael then urges Kane to save his daughter before the city is destroyed. Upon hearing this, Kane decides to move quickly, so he steals a ship from the station. Linux sends several of her henchmen after him, but Kane somehow manages to escape. In the process, though, his ship is damaged and he crash lands in a nearby lake. He tries to get up, but someone arrives there and knocks him out. When Kane regains consciousness, he finds a man named Sai holding him at gunpoint and demanding to know who he is. It turns out Sai is also one of the convicts who escaped from prison. Kane explains that he's looking for the prisoners with a deadly virus, but Sai reveals that the creatures have already killed all of them. After this, Kane tells him about the nuclear reactor, which will blow up the colony in 23 hours. He asks Sai for help in getting to the capital so he can save his daughter. The latter is initially hesitant, but when he discovers Kane has access to military bunkers, course, he agrees to help. The scene then shifts back to the previous day, where Sai is seen in a prison cafeteria with his friends Charles and Vim. They plan to escape from the prison as they are treated like slaves and have no human rights. Sai explains that according to their plan, they need to provoke a fight to get themselves locked in solitary confinement. He says that one of the confinement cells has a trigger system that can release all of the cells in the event of an emergency. However, for this to work, all of them must be confined and each cell must be full. He reveals that he's already talked to the other inmates and they're also on board with the plan. Charles doubts their chances of success, but Sai insists that it is now or never. After this, Sai doesn't waste any time and immediately begins fighting an enemy inmate. This escalates into a gang fight and sparks a riot in the cafeteria. Hearing the commotion, the warden soon arrives with his guards, but surprisingly allows the fight to continue. He orders his guards to stand down as long as the other prisoners behave and watch the show. The fight rages on between the two gangs, and Sai is brutally injured by his enemy. He's on the verge of death, but Charles steps in with a knife and fatally stabs the attacker. In the aftermath of this incident, all the gang members are transferred to solitary confinement. They're tortured there with a continuously rotating tube and a flashing light, ensuring that they never have a moment of peace. Returning to the present, Kane and Sai are making their way to the capital, but the latter doubts they can reach there on time. Shortly after, they arrive in front of a bar where a bus is parked outside. The duo then walks in and asks the bartender whose bus it is. The man responds by pointing to a couple, Bill and Jip, who are sniffing drugs and playing a game. When Kane tries to approach them, the bartender says they're dangerous, but Kane disregards his warning and goes to the couple anyway. He instantly regrets it, as an angry Jip holds a knife to his throat. They then force him to kneel, and Bill scolds him for disrupting their game, but Kane calmly explains his situation and asks them to drive him and his friend to the capital. Sai also speaks up, revealing that Kane is an Exxon defector who just wants to meet his daughter. The couple is still reluctant, but when Kane offers them $20,000 cash, they agree. The scene again flashes back to last night, when Vim wakes up in a cage. He soon notices a ragged approaching him, scaring him shitless. Before Vim can react, the creature attacks him and transforms him into a creature as well. After this, the warden approaches Sai and takes him to the same cage. He explains how they are creating these creatures by mutating prisoners and transforming them into beings capable of adapting to any environment. Just as Sai is about to be attacked, the cage door suddenly opens and he falls to the floor below. There, he meets one of his friends, who says that the plan worked and all the confinement cells have been opened. But at this moment, Charles arrives and nervously admits that he accidentally let a beast loose. After this, chaos erupts in the prison as inmates start running frantically while the creature chases them. The warden tries to control Vim, who is now transformed into a ragged. However, the creature doesn't listen and immediately attacks him. Meanwhile, Sai and his two friends manage to escape the prison and decide to head to the capital, but Sai refuses to go with them, revealing that he wants to go to the opera. His friends are confused by this.
Fucking serious, man?
But they respect his decision and leave. Returning to the present, the junkie couple takes Sai and Kane to a weapon shop. The two shop owners seem very scared and demand a large sum of money for a few guns. To their surprise, Kane doesn't even negotiate and pays them $30,000. After the group departs, the shop owners are overjoyed with the money and begin to dance. But just a few moments later, they hear some unusual noises in the distance. When they look outside, they notice a large number of ragged in front of their house. The two immediately begin shooting at them and even manage to kill some of them. However, they soon run out of bullets and are brutally murdered. Elsewhere, we see Kane and his group on the bus. He informs the junkie couple about the bomb and promises to help them get into the bunker after they find his daughter. After driving for a few more hours, the group finally arrives at the city, which is in a state of chaos. People are fleeing in panic, and the ragged are attacking them. Kane's group somehow manages to dodge the creatures and reaches the building where Indy is staying. After this, Jip and Bill stay behind to fight the monsters, while Sai and Kane head inside the building. They carefully make their way upstairs, where Kane discovers his daughter's babysitter lying dead on the floor. The sight terrifies him, and he begins screaming like a little girl. But moments later, Indy emerges from a closet, completely unharmed.
You sound like a little bitch, Daddy.
The two then hug each other in relief, and Kane introduces her to Sai, explaining that he's a good man who is helping them. Outside, the couple does their best to hold off the raggeds, but Bill is unfortunately attacked by one. Jip then drags him inside and tries to find first aid, but Bill realizes he's going to die soon. He then pulls his lover close, and they share a final kiss before he passes away. Elsewhere, Sai, Kane, and Indy try to leave the building but encounter a ragged blocking their path, forcing them to retreat. They then head to the roof and immediately jump onto the bus. The trio pleads with Jip to open the hatch, and she does so in the nick of time. Meanwhile, at Flotilla, Linex gets a report that a bus is heading towards the bunker. This infuriates her greatly, so she orders her henchmen to stop them. On the other hand, the group panics when a fighter jet suddenly flies overhead and opens fire on them. Since they cannot fight back, they simply lie on the bus's floor and try to protect themselves. The jet continues the onslaught for several more minutes before eventually returning to the flotilla. At this time, the group also arrives near the bunker, but Sai is shocked when he learns that both Jip and Kane have been killed. Indy freaks out at the sight and begins to scream, but Sai quickly carries her away. They then run through a long cave and finally reach the first door of the shelter, where Indy inputs the code. The duo slowly gets inside and proceeds to descend a ladder, but Sai is attacked by a ragged and becomes infected. Despite this, the two manage to get into the shelter just as the bomb detonates. Sai is relieved that the little girl is now safe, but he knows he'll soon transform into a ragged. He asks her for a sharp tool so he can sign out. However, Indy refuses and begs him not to leave her alone. She says that she has no one left and that he must take care of her. While his body begins to mutate, she stays by his side and continues to talk to him. The scene then flashes back to 2 years ago on Earth, where we see Sai working as a nurse. One day, he is shocked to see an emergency patient brought in after a traffic accident. He is informed that a woman and her daughter were hit by a drunk driver. Unfortunately, the daughter died immediately, and the woman is in critical condition. As Sai prepares for surgery, he's horrified to discover that the woman is none other than his own wife. He screams in horror and begs her to stay with him, but she soon passes away. Overcome with emotions and anger, Sai approaches the drunk driver and chokes him to death. This is the reason why he was arrested and eventually taken to Osiris as a convict. In the next scene, a year has passed since the nuclear detonation incident. One morning, Exxon employees detect a distress signal in a cave near the bunker and send 2 investigators there. We also notice that due to the reactor explosion, Osiris has become an uninhabitable planet where people can't survive without spacesuits. While the investigators are checking out the site, Sai, now transformed into a ragged, shows up. He wastes no time and kills the male investigator right away. Moments later, Indy also appears and questions the female about what's going on in Exxon. The terrified woman reveals that Flotilla is returning to Earth and has blamed everything on the prisoners, claiming they spread the virus. Upon hearing this, Indy threatens the woman, saying that if she wants to live, she must let them board the spaceship undetected. With no other options, the woman agrees and discreetly leads them to the flotilla. The movie then ends with Indy and Sai holding hands, excited to return home after so long. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.